So hello again for another mystical talk, and I think what comes to mind for me at this point, it's been in the news, this thing with Alvin Bragg. What are you picking up around the way that's developing? You know, the thing with Trump and Stormy Daniels and all of that.
Yeah, he's gonna get hit with a, he won't go to jail, but he's gonna get hit.
You mean with that, like an indictment?
Indictment, that's the word I'm trying to use.
And is your sense, because the argument seems to be that there's a clear misdemeanor they can establish, but there's this thing they keep bringing up about, yes, but the other thing is a federal crime, and Alvin Bragg is a state prosecutor, blah blah blah. And really, what Bragg wants to do, it seems to me, is nail him with the bigger crime, because then it's criminal, right?
Yeah.
Misdemeanor. So, your sense is that the whole thing will get Trump, or is it
Let's
maybe
look.
on?
Let's look real quick.
Okay.
Will Alan Bragg hit Trump on the federal? Did you see Trump's attorney on MSNBC?
Oh yeah, the thing with Ari Melber.
I see two different charges. It might be the misdemeanor and the federal.
Yeah, well, that's what it would be, because they are.
Yeah.
There are two.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and this, by the way, is where, if you look at the people involved, and again, some of it maybe is speculative because they've said Kellyanne Conway apparently testified to this. She was called to the grand jury, and Hope Hicks, and who else is involved in this? There are other people involved. Well, there's Alvin Bragg. Like, I looked at all these charts, and all of them are the type of chart where they join with someone like Trump, but it can go sour. Like the way it went sour with Michael Cohen, who's the lawyer who is now trying to take him down. At first, it's a stimulating energy that brings people together, and then when things go sideways, it can be incredibly damaging. And ironically or interestingly, you see that in Stormy Daniels too. Like, her chart is lethal to Trump, but of course he wouldn't have known that, back when he was doing it or whatever. So all these. Oh, and another one, Mike Pence. He's another one that he's trying to dance around the issue. With him, it's different because it has more to do with not Stormy Daniels, but it has to do with January 6th and all that. And he set up in some secret meeting, he spoke against Trump, but he refuses to go on camera and say it directly because he's scared of the MAGA people. But he's another one that, give it enough time, and I think he's going to hurt Trump. He's going to hurt him because where Pence's Saturn position is very risky for Trump. It's the place in the chart that he hates the most. It's where that Access Hollywood thing came out, back in, yeah. Which is another one too, by the way, because I think we've talked in the past. That's also due to happen anytime soon. The E. Jean Carroll suit as well.
That's really going to hit him hard.
Yeah, right.
And I see Fanny still plugging in there.
Yeah, with Fanny, what I discovered when I looked at hers, minus a birth time that I don't have, but just with the date positions, her challenge period around things going wrong, she's passed because she used it to do all this work to put the case together. She has a lot of planets that were being affected by Saturn in 21 and 22. Not anymore. Now it's free. So I'm skeptical of people who say, "Oh, they've passed that law and the other law, and they're going to stop that prosecution." I don't think so. I don't think they can stop it. No.
And listen, have you looked at anything about this a little bit of an Armageddon financially? I guess there's a foreign bank that's having issues, and it caused us to drop like 600 points.
Yeah, well, that's today. My sense is that this is not like 2008 at all.
I never saw that. I never saw Armageddon, but I see the drop, and then I see them reversing it again.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, if anything, this is even more fuel against someone like Trump, because now people are hyper focused on all the videos, and he's on video saying, "Well, we're going to take down Dodd-Frank. It's too many regulations." Great, but now there you are, right?
Well,
So
and also they're calling the woke banks, you know, that Sterling Bank. Trump has a bunch of loans out from them. He's one of his kids is on the board at Sterling Bank in California.
is
That
that one
went
of the banks
down.
that, and that went down too?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
they were based on crypto or something.
crypto, yeah. They're,
Yeah, but he's part of the that he owes them money too. And that
yeah,
oh, but they're a woke bank. They're a woke bank.
yeah, they're old bank, yeah, and also they were saying today that they're also reviewing, which I'm amazed they haven't done more of this. But remember though, with all this, every time I've studied these cases with the feds chasing something, it just takes them a long time. It's so frustrating. But you don't want them looking around. Like now they're saying they're looking at money laundering in his Truth Social because they took in $8 million from a Russian source. And he's going to say Russia, 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 but that's really dangerous, because if they connect you to any paperwork, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. It may take them longer, but once they go to court, they'll just present the
Well,
paper.
the DOJ just hit the Silicon Valley Bank, and they're going to look. Apparently, they paid themselves a big fat bonus before this happened and started selling their stocks. They're in huge trouble.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, the thing is that this to me helps Biden more, and it hurts Trump because it gives Biden fuel, to say like we should have regulations. Look what happens. Elizabeth Warren is right. You took them away, and then this kind of stuff happens, right? So
Right.
what do you expect? It's logical, and he can't take it back. He's on camera, He'll
Right, but
probably,
also the guy who's the president of the Silicon Valley Bank was the one who was on the giving pressure to Congress about get these things off of us, get
yeah,
this
yeah.
thing off of us.
Yeah, exactly. But it's when things. I mean, these things work well when the situation is smooth and it's working. But when it collapses like this, it's a problem. It really
Yeah.
is. Even if people think, oh well, the Republicans will just get in the way. Yeah, but it's a bad message. Kind of like, okay, so there's a poll out there that says that 56% to 39% people like the term woke. Okay, so you're going against it? Okay, you can do that, but that's not a good idea. This is how you lose elections because people understand woke to mean trying to be sensitive to other people's stuff, just being a
Yeah.
decent, courteous human being. They're trying
But
to turn
no,
it
they
into,
can't identify it. When you ask, when you say woke, what do you mean? They can't identify.
yeah, it's the libs. Woke is the libs, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's to me when you're entering election cycles, and we're in one now. Why would you want to get on the wrong side of the numbers of anything? Why? Even the people say this is another topic. I think you were mentioning this at one point, the Ukraine situation, because it's a little dicey, right? Because it's gotten really, really bloody in the last while. The Russians are really piling on.
And when I saw two big hits coming against the Ukraine. And then after that, I saw them rally. So these were expected, and now something else will happen.
Yeah, and I think the thing with that is that the I think the next point in the Ukraine war is going to be when Jupiter gets out of Aries in mid-May is when the energy shifts because we're still in this period where Putin Putin's a Libra with a lot of planets in Libra. Jupiter on the other side is the classic overexpansion, inappropriate expansion energy, and for it to peter out, you got to wait for the planet to get out and change signs, which it does in mid-May. So I think that's probably when it's going to start to look different than what it is now. But even people are saying, some people are saying that the support is softening. I don't know. What's your sense of that around the?
I think it'll happen before May.
What happened before May?
Trump's going to go down. I'm telling you right now, he's going down.
Before
You
May?
see how many Russian soldiers are leaving? There's
Yeah, well,
somebody
that's,
sent
yeah.
me a YouTube thing on a famous actor from the Ukraine that's giving Russian soldiers a phone number to call if they need to escape from Russia, because there's mothers that don't want their sons to go to war. And so hundreds and hundreds of soldiers are exiting stage left, surrendering, and then getting sent out.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that DeSantis is kind of doing the Trumpy thing of questioning the Ukraine support, but again, he's going against the numbers. It's it's not a good plan. It's just not a good plan.
And the other thing is, did you see all the Republican senators that are saying,
Yes, yes,
hey,
yes.
what the hell is he doing? He has not had no briefing, no intel briefing.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
isn't
no, and
anything about territory. This is a literal dictator coming in saying this belongs to me.
right, right. See, the thing is, it's like the messaging. A lot of this was going on in the Second World War too. In the end, people get their news wherever they get it, but one of them, I think it was, I don't know who it is, one of the Republican senators said, this is like Neville Chamberlain, trying to appease Hitler, because it is really kind of similar. I mean, Putin went into a country that is not his, and he's trying to take it by force. That's what Hitler was doing. And by the way, these guys always do the same thing. Hitler was telling people, oh, they're the fascists. They're trying to take, our stuff. So we're going in to correct it. That's what Putin says. All the Ukrainians are Nazis, right? While he takes over the land. You got to stop him. It's that simple. If you don't, you set a precedent, and then he gets the idea that he can keep going.
He'll go for everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I mean, thing is, at times it's easy to get, discouraged because things don't move quickly enough.
Right.
But I noticed that for all the disinformation that people try to push, like Tucker Carlson, right? I don't know if you know. Did you see that report on Ari Melber did, where he showed that Carlson had tried every single thing, like he went through MSNBC, CNN, Fox, everything he tried failed. So then, and he was trying to be honest. He was actually trying to tell the truth.
You have to be honest.
That didn't work. And then now he's figured out that, being a lying SOB is a really good formula. But you've sold your soul, right? And did you see the thing that came out today where, in contrast to what he did, he showed, this invented, he took 3 minutes of footage or whatever to show, oh, it was a peaceful situation. Like someone said, that's like showing all the planes before in Pearl Harbor before they struck the base and to say, oh, nothing happened. See, all the planes were were safe. But the Department of Justice released a time-lapse video, and you can see the thing speeding up, and it shows the moment, like it shows 14:20, the video starts, and Trump tweeted at Pence at 14:24. That's when he said Pence didn't do what he was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. And you see the crowd, and at 14:27, they break through the barricades. So.
And what was Tucker nobody doing?
Well, no, Tucker is presenting, collages of videos on Fox News to show that nothing was really happening. It's like the idea, look, MAGA base. See, everybody look at even this policeman that died. He looks fine in this thing. He's trying to lower, make it seem like nothing major happened when we all saw what happened. But
with our own eyes, yeah.
Right, in this video, you see all this crowd encircling, you can see the barricades, and then 3 minutes after the Trump tweet, they broke through the barricades. So obviously...
So right? The DOJ put that out today?
Well, I saw it today. It was tweeted by someone, as a...
Oh, I love it. I love it. Even Jimmy Kimmel at the Academy Awards said, editing. It's kind of like what Tucker Carlson's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Riot turns into nothing but a tourist attraction.
I know, and it's like some of those Republican senators who said, "Well, what do you mean a tourist attraction? I was here, and there was, shooting, and there were people were dying, and if you're doing a tourist visit, you do it nicely, And
you go through the tourist door.
Through the tourist door, and you don't. I mean, they were breaking doors with. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Breaking windows, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there anything planetary that's going on right now that? Wasn't it March 27th supposed to be a big deal about something? Well,
no, the main thing is Saturn has switched into Pisces. It's now in Pisces for the next 3 years pretty well. There's a period in 2025 when it moves into Aries briefly, but I count it as Pisces till the spring of 26. So that's important, and that people's lives start to change depending on their signs. That's where Trump has a major problem, because the way his chart is, Saturn is going to function as an accountability thing. It's coming in to call him on his stuff. That's why I've always said 23, 24, 25. These years are not good for Trump. They're very risky. They're risky to his finances. They're risky to his health. Literally, and I'm not kidding. That's the death house that Saturn is transiting through. That's not a place you want Saturn. The way he lives too. I mean, look at the guy. You know, he's. I mean,
Did you say that Putin also has those
yes,
negative
yes.
influences?
Putin's is a different thing in that Putin, when you have a cluster of planets in a place in your chart, if something changes to affect that sign, because there's a cluster, it affects it more. It's just common sense, right? So Saturn in Pisces misaligns with the Libra part of his chart, and I'm pretty sure his chart is correct. It puts them in the 12th sign, which goes really well with being a KGB, underground person, definitely. But it's also a health area, where Saturn is for these 3 years is not good for health. It's gonna, it's a 150 aspect, and I'm getting technical here, but astrologers know. They know what this is like. So it's not good for Putin, no. And it also is not good for Putin from the perspective of getting what you want smoothly to happen, because it won't happen.
You said he was good back in 2016, 2017.
Oh, yeah, that was his time. If he had intuited, I'm at the high point. He thought, oh, now I'm like climbing up. No, you're not. This is it. It was like Trump too. Trump's chart, if you look at it, Trump peaked even before he entered the presidency. He was at the high point in 2015 when he first came on the scene, and it was like a new thing and then it starts to get weaker, which is why, if you recall, Trump entered the presidency in 2017, and in January, before he was sworn in, Comey was already paying him visits and saying, hey, what's going on here? We're getting these papers with you. And he never had a day of rest the whole time.
They were on it from the get-go. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and there's another thing too about Trump that I found is that there's a shift. This is in addition to the fact that there's been this change. There's a shift in August. There's a major sign change that shifts all his progressed Libra planets into the 12th sign. Not a good thing in the context of what he is, because Trump, 12th sign, if you're a meditator, that's good. Trump and meditation, that's like, they don't go together at all.
He's walking around with a blood pressure through the roof because he's just spitting nails.
Well, very dangerous in the context of what he's going through. I'll just leave it at that. That's my sense. And although it's curious that I've always remembered you saying how you see him getting in a lot of trouble, but not in jail, right? Because some people think
I never saw him in jail, but that's me. I've been saying that for 6 years now. So he will come, but I never saw him go. He may be under house arrest, or something may happen and he's in the hospital, but I never saw him actually serving in a jail.
Yeah, see, in astrology, the jailhouse is the same as the hospital house. So,
and the thing is, it's going to be a tough spot for America to put a president in jail. That even though some people are for it, I almost feel like they feel like they have to do some other thing for him. But I don't see him making it. And the other thing is, I never saw Trump, if he does run for president, winning. But if anything happens to Trump and the Satan gets in there, you can just take it to the bank. He's going to lose.
Desantis, Desantis, it's true. He's running on well, let me backtrack. I think Desantis will do well until the summer of the election year. He can do okay during that period. That's good. But from the middle of 24 into the election cycle, no, not a good plan.
The thing is that if Trump says F that guy and don't vote for him, then that's a good portion of the people who would have voted for him, because sane people don't vote for a dictator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, for the Republican Party, it's a mess because they've got all these conflicting forces. Some senators like Marco Rubio came out against Desantis because Desantis said, the Ukraine thing, he's kind of trying to back Putin the way Trump does.
Even that old slowpoke, Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy
came out against him.
Yeah. Well, and McConnell, of course. Although
Right. So
McConnell.
did you take a look at McConnell? Because he's in rehab right now.
Yeah, well, that Saturn got him. It's
Saturn got him.
simple. Because the thing with him is, he's very, very early Pisces. So Saturn is very, very early, right? So Saturn can do this. It can. Saturn's a planet that, when it's around, it kind of reminds you forcefully to pay attention to what you're doing.
Right.
And I mean, I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but almost always when a person falls, they're not present to what they're doing, and then they get a little bit ahead of themselves and not paying, and then something happens, right? And I mean, I know he's 81, and you can bring that in as well, but that's the message with Saturn. Or you could just say it can be a tough time, and he's experiencing it. So
Right.
that's the logic. Although
Yeah. If he does come back, I don't see him staying for long. I never saw him filling his whole term out.
which would be till when, 26 or something, right?
Right. I feel like he might have to step down. Brain injury for an older person more often than not causes some form of dementia.
Unless maybe after this he becomes more democratic.
He has kind of softened up.
Yeah, I know. That's like waiting for pigs to fly. I know. I mean, it's remarkable that we live in a time when we bring up Mitch McConnell as one of the good guys, because there are so many crazy people. Because McConnell, I don't know if you noticed, he's pulling away from McCarthy and doing a lot of bipartisan stuff and enraging Trump because he thinks that that's giving him wins and all that. But McConnell is more political, and he was shown in pictures, under bridges with Biden achieving bipartisan results.
That made Trump so angry.
Yeah, it made him furious. Yeah, but it's unusual because most people, most Democrats think of McConnell as being, anything from horrible to evil the way he's behaved. But that's the era we're in. So
right.
Yeah, no, it could be. This is the thing, that the pattern developing is such that they can kind of walk themselves into it, because the Trump train, I think, is a dead train no matter what, because in the end the guy's got support in the 30s. It's a loser. It's a total loser. And then Desantis trying to beat Trump, but he has no option because he has to keep the maga people happy, but it can be a losing train. And one thing that a while back, and this is crediting an astrologer, his name is Patrick Watson, and he does really good research on past patterns of when things have happened,
Yeah.
And he noticed that Saturn in Aries seems to show up every time with gun legislation, things that bring in gun control. And Saturn goes into Aries right after the next election. But ask yourself, how can that be if Republicans are in charge? Because they won't do it. So that's kind of a signal that that's where this is going.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a perfect correlation, but it's pretty good, pretty suspicious, right? That you would
Right.
see Saturn in that area to bring about that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, who am I? But I'm really sure that a Republican won't take presidency. I think we're going to take the House again, and this time Congress, because right now what's going on in Congress is much ado about nothing. They are just going in circles.
Yeah, and they're
Not dealing with the issues that the people want.
Exactly, and they're not doing it well too, because there was news that Republicans are mad at Jordan because he's not doing the investigations correctly. But I thought, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, they're doing nothing. They're just bringing up garbage.
Bringing in fake people that are supposed to be the one, and then you find out they were being paid by the Republicans. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, and you can't. I mean, when you surround yourself with the Giulianis and Sidney Powells of the world, all I can tell you is you're going to get in trouble. These people are goofs. I mean, Giuliani, if you look at him when he was younger, he was kind of evil and thug-like, but at least
I watched that series.
Yeah, exactly. But at least he seemed awake and aware of what was going on. He's turned into, a kind of a pickle. The man is completely out to lunch. He's always drinking and saying crazy things. And don't align yourself with that, because things will tend to go wrong. It's pretty simple.
Did you ever look at him? What's the outcome for him?
It's not good, because he's got a lot of Leo planets. and then but he's a Gemini, right? So with major planets in there, and that's where Saturn is hitting now. And the thing is, you can almost predict how hard a Saturn will be by how off-center someone is, and he's totally off-center. He's created problems, and one of them is legal problems because he's been engaging in these now for years. So same with Trump. You know, the Geminis, like right now, Barr is not in a good place.
Oh, I feel bad for Barr. I can tell you psychically, I feel really nervous about Barr.
What sort of nervous?
Years ago when I threw his cards, it was terrible, and it's still, and he's not even in the picture right now talking to anyone. I feel he may just keel over or something.
Yeah, well, it's a possibility because he's one of them. Giuliani, Trump, and we've said this before. MTG. She's going around, you know, with this thing that she's doing. You know, if it moves its way so that, like, when Saturn reaches 4 or 5 degrees where her planets are, that could maybe, I'm not sure, because you'll find a way to screw it up. That's the way she does things. But it could be this thing with the prisons, you know, where she wants to visit the prisoners. And now I saw this thing that said that some judge said, no, actually the conditions are too easy for them, not too hard. They're getting too many breaks. Because she's trying to say, oh, they're torturing the prisoners, you know, they're torturing the insurrectionists. But like what always happens to these people, they start digging where they shouldn't be digging and they get the opposite results, right? But it's because they're not that smart. They really aren't, you know. They've got a crew of...
So, you know, Gemini, you're saying Gemini, so she's going to get hit pretty hard.
Well, yeah, because she's early Gemini, and that's in the pathway of Saturn. Saturn is challenging early Gemini, early Virgo, early Pisces, and Sagittarius, those 4. But okay, one thing for people that are listening to this, don't project that into your chart. We're talking here about basically losers and scoundrels, right? When you play this way, this is what happens. Saturn actually, through your sign, is the most useful planet to actually get things done. That's when you feel like you want to try to do something. You will sacrifice something in order to get it done. You just realize this is time to now take a position and go with it. So you notice that when people are doing any kind of self-improvement, whether it's to the body or to their circumstances, Saturn is involved. So it's not a problem. But if you've been, I don't know, robbing banks, whatever, then Saturn comes by and says, hey, you were robbing banks, so now we're going to make you pay. It's like that.
Time to pay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, this isn't to alarm people, because then someone born in early Pisces will think, oh my God, I'm in the same place as Mitch McConnell. I'm going to fall on my head. And no, it doesn't work like that at all. No, yeah.
So, what was I going to tell you? George Santos.
Oh, he's due really soon, because
he's already signed the paperwork to go up for re-election.
Well, I mean, you can do that. You can do whatever you like. But to me, the way the planets are, as we move toward later in the spring and into summer, he gets encircled. It'll be something that shows up that makes it too difficult to stay in Congress, some violation.
They'll actually come back with some sort of thing about him. He'll probably run even if he's subpoenaed or he's in trouble legally. He'll probably think he can still win, and he won't. The people that voted for him have reversed their vote and try to recall him. Mm-hmm. So I doubt very much he would win again.
Yeah, I wonder, is that even possible? Do you know if it's possible to recall a House person?
Be a convict. You can be, and you can still be in office. Even Trump announced, I don't care what they do. If I get indicted, he said, I'm still running.
Yeah, well, that works for all his charges except the Jack Smith charges. If he's convicted of inciting an insurrection, he can't run anymore.
No,
that disqualifies you. There are charges that...
That's what I'm wondering is going to happen, because I'm seeing Trump being pushed out. And I see like Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other people getting in trouble.
Well, it fits the astrology.
For the insurrection.
It fits Trump is like, right now, is the emperor of all maladies. I mean, you think of it and it's like the locusts are moving in. Very, very dangerous. So yeah, that's sort of almost the most natural, because, in a way, you gotta hope that Merrick Garland and Jack Smith, and it's almost certainly true, they're probably thinking if we don't apply the law to this guy, everything is just going to fall apart because it means that people can do this stuff and get away with it, and bring the country down.
Right.
Yeah. So.
So any aspects going on, you told me, because I was just telling you, I was sitting down doing my taxes. PayPal no longer does a 1099, which they did last year. Every month I saw how much, and I have these events.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go through my bank and pull out all PayPal information because PayPal said the IRS said we don't have to do this anymore. I said, fair enough, but you still have to report it.
Right.
So for the first, I used to just pile that up and send it to my CPA.
Mm-hmm.
But now I sat down and did it. I mean, I'm not doing the taxes. I'm still sending it to him, but I did all the numbers. And I literally found out that I am making no money on these events. None whatsoever.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
Even though, after you pay the vent and you pay this and planes and all of the stuff, which is, thank God, they give me as a write-off. But I noticed that my money situation is depleting. And I thought, well, that's weird because, I thought maybe, no, I'm not making anything. So I'm losing money. Actually, I'm having to dip into my money to pay all the bills. And it was an eye-opener for me. And I didn't realize how bad it was. So that's good. But you said when is Taurus going something?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things happening in your chart. One is being when you're a Virgo, Saturn is in years where it's challenging you. So that's partly why you call a halt and take stock. You start saying, okay, wait a second, what do I need to do here? And Saturn often trims things down and you focus on less than you were doing before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. But that goes on for quite a while and it involves all kinds of things. But what helps for Virgo and Capricorn and Taurus, that's the Earth triangle and Jupiter going there in the summer. By May. By mid-May, Jupiter enters Taurus and then it circulates in Taurus for a whole year. That's really helpful because that's a money flow, prosperity flow.
Who else does it help besides? It has to be does it matter the sign? It just has to be your such and such needs to be in.
Well, there are all kinds of. Well, it's okay. So by sign, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, the Earth signs helps them. Then it sends some help to Pisces and to Scorpio because they're the water signs. They're aligned with Scorpio's on the other side. I'm saying it wrong. Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Pisces. That's the proper sextile. Scorpio's a little more. It can work, but Scorpio can overspend when Jupiter goes through there. They can get money coming in and spend too much of it, or maybe spend the money they already have. So it's a little more complicated, right? But then you have to look at the entire chart because sometimes different sign altogether, but Jupiter can be in a really good money location in that particular chart. So there are a number of things going on, but the most clear is the triangle of the Earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, because it also feels good. Jupiter aligns with a smooth period, in your life.
Good. This summer's be a little bit better. So what about I was going to tell you, because of all these banks going under. And may I mention too that it's not just the Silicon, but that Sterling Bank was Trump's bank, and they're calling it a woke bank. But Trump got loans from that bank, and one of his kids was on the board, and yet they're saying it's a woke bank. But anyway, so now the DOJ's in on this, and they've decided to take a look at these bigwigs in there. In fact, the one bigwig, the CEO or whatever, was the one who was down in Washington begging him to take off Dobbs or whatever that was, Frank.
Oh, Dodd-Frank to take it off. Oh, back then, yeah.
Yeah. We can handle our own. We can't make money with this on. So he was the one rallying for this. And then right before his bank went under, they all got fat bonuses and they all sold their stock. So now the DOJ is on them like flies to you know what.
Yeah, and I'd say that it's the better position because in your messaging, if you're saying, these people don't like things like Dodd-Frank, and they don't like banking regulation, and then look what happens. Look what
Yeah.
happens, right? So we should have in place something that stops this kind of thing from happening.
Right. I just looked at the stock market. It was down 600 points. Now it's 300. So it's going back up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, no, and sometimes, by the way, those are where you get these big drops, and sometimes a bank will drop for no really great reason other than that they're part of the same sector, and then it's a great time to buy it because then it goes back up.
I
But
saw no problems with banks, maybe these type of banks, but no problems with banks.
no,
You know, Silicon Valley deals with, startups and all this stuff and a lot of very wealthy people. And the other one deals with crypto.
yeah, well, crypto took a big dive, right? So these things, this is the problem, that when it makes the news, it empowers the change, because without it, if there's no message, people are doing all kinds of things, and it's like no one is focused on it. But then it creates public pressure. And the other thing is that when you look at where planets are compared to 2008, it's not the same thing at all. That sector is not getting that massive pressure that it had, and no, it's different. So I doubt it. I really do.
Thank you, because people are freaking out, and I'm telling you, yeah, there's some dips and stuff we always have been going through, but I never saw like it's the end of the world kind of stuff.
I mean, like freaking out, like they want to go to the bank and pull out their money out.
My son studies all this stuff, and he won't say because he doesn't believe in any of this, but he's always been a little intuitive. He always has. He can't help it. I'm his mother. But he said, Mom, I'll tell you something. He said, actually, the United States could be good financially for another 100 years.
Yeah, but because everything is relative. People complain. People complain, like how Joe Scarborough says, if the U.S. is in such trouble, why does everyone want to come here? Why is it that every person wants to, right? So it's like, look around, and where would you rather be? And this is the thing that it bums me out, that there can be so many millions of people that they're so, thick in the head and back, thugs like Putin. It's like, we've seen this script before. Just, look at history. Pay attention.
Right, but because we accept other nations in here and we're so diverse, that helps us. That doesn't hurt us, because these people make money and pay into our system. Whereas who doesn't accept outsiders? Those countries, like Russia doesn't, China doesn't, Japan doesn't really.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time because they have no one to do their work.
Yeah, no, and it's this whole thing tends to show up with conservative thinkers, because you hear that thing that happened in the UK, like whenever the Conservative Party or the in this case the Republican Party, they talk against immigrants, they are threatened by immigrants. In the UK, it was a big scandal because an ex-soccer player pointed out that the conservative politicians keep saying the problem is all these immigrants, and he said, we have the lowest immigration in Europe, and you're pretending that it's a problem. And so at first they suspended him for saying it, the BBC did, and then they brought him back when there was outrage because he's so popular, right? But it's like that same message tends to show up, much like it shows up here, when the Republicans are always going on about that, how it's always, make an enemy of these people.
Right.
But they used to do that to Italians and Irish. If you go back the previous century, then they were taking all the heat, and now it's fully accepted. That.
Right. So, Irish or Oklahoma. My dad came here to California from Oklahoma, and they didn't like Oklahomans.
Yeah.
They were nothing but hicks.
Yeah, no, it's creating enemies. I mean, it's the worst type of politics, but it's just the era we're in. I think we just have to stick together and continue being very disciplined about voting in all elections all the time. Don't take anything for granted, and don't give up, because part of it is practical. Your vote counts. Don't ever say it doesn't count. That's how we did well, for instance, in the last election and so forth. But I think, what is your opinion of this? Because isn't there also like a mentality, like when people's minds are focused on a good outcome for something, protecting the democracy, keeping it going, that has to help, right? Because
Oh, it does.
it's the spirit of the situation. So it's like all the minds as one, right? And so the idea of saying, oh, this isn't working, the DOJ is too slow, keep your mind on the target. The target is we're going to keep
Yeah.
this together, because that's what it is. It's what
And
we are.
don't be afraid. They like to make you afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when I first started this, I couldn't understand why my guys wanted me to do this. And then, you know, they're pretty good sometimes, a lot of times at calling out what's going to happen. But their focus with me was telling everybody to breathe and to be quiet and to not be in fear. And the purpose is that is it causes a vibratory energy. I'm telling you, if you breathe and be quiet and allow them to work through you, you'll notice things come a lot easier and you don't go to the bad place all the time. We're so focused on negative. What you can either look up or look down. That's your choice.
Well, that perfectly said. That's my go-to practice all the time. It's in a way a variant on Zen and so forth, but it's the idea that just put your mind on your breathing, going in and out for a few minutes, and relax. Because that, in astrology, that puts you in touch with Jupiter. The impulse to do it, to stick to it for a few minutes, is Saturn. Saturn is the one that works it. But then Jupiter comes in and you feel the openness. And in that state, the energy is more clear. And the more you can connect to that state, the more optimistic you'll feel. And the more you'll feel like...
It creates worldwide vibrational energy.
Exactly.
But let me tell you something. This Pisces going in to Saturn. What's the general aspect? If you were to look at it, just to tell folks, here's what you're looking at.
Well, I mean, there are multiple angles, but you could argue that Saturn going through Pisces, if you say Pisces is the primary sign of what we just said, meditation. Meditation and Pisces go hand in hand. So if it pulls you at all, that's a great period to work on it. Because Saturn is the work planet. Saturn will always say, yeah, great ideas. You people have some great ideas. Does anyone practice here? Does anyone show up?
Right.
That's what Saturn says, because it's sort of the ultra realist that knows that it takes time, right, to work on something and bring it in. But repeated showing up and repeated focus brings about the result, right? So what you just, in fact, what you just said, when you said, hey, just sit back, breathe for a few minutes, that's Saturn in Pisces, right there.
Okay.
That's what that is.
As my baby, my 28-year-old son turns 28 today. Today's his birthday, and he's a Pisces.
And he must have Saturn in Pisces because, what year was he born in?
1995.
That's Saturn in Pisces. So he's a Pisces with Saturn in Pisces.
What does that mean?
Well, no, that's fine. That's fine. He would probably be receptive to advice like that. What that is that having it in your own sign helps to make you to be more disciplined and more strategic and more practical. On the downside, you could be more depressive too. But because Saturn is a contracting energy, right? But if it feels to you like he's, a normal person, it just means he's going to work harder than most because of having Saturn there. And anything that has to do with Pisces benefits him. So for him, it's good too to do that kind of thing. And because Pisces is very spiritual energy, and the only way you feel spiritual energy is by expanding. You have to expand, right? But the irony is that a lot of expansion comes when you put your mind on a narrow point, and then it feels like it's going the other way.
And here's another real huge thing that they told me later when I was reading, and we're all hating Trump and we're hating this person and we're just Armageddon. We hope these people burn in hell. And they said, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
That's true.
And I'm like, what? But that's why everybody's watching me. So we can talk about when his end comes. And they said, Linda, you're going to have to get off that train.
Yeah. I know
because phobicking and focusing on somebody's just rewards, which really isn't our business. We can't do that. Yeah,
it's true.
They're doing it to themselves. So they said, do not do that. Advise people to get off of that. No more. That's because we want to see justice, but that's not for us to call. That's for the energies to take care of it. So when I told everybody we got to get off the Trump train, I got a lot of hate mail. What do you mean? I'll never forgive. I'm not asking you to forgive.
Yeah, it's true.
If you listen, the more we focus with our anger towards him, it does nothing to him, but it hurts you.
I know what you mean, and yet I have to work on that myself because
Yeah.
very recently I put out a video on Tucker Carlson, and I was pretty harsh, but it kind of really made me mad because I thought, look what this SOB is doing. I mean, how low do you go? How much of a SOB do you have to be? So I did this video, but you're totally correct because all that does, there's an adage that says resentment is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will die, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like that. It's like that. And so, like, logically, the way it could work though is, and maybe everyone who hears this could take this as a possibility, is like with Trump, you send them a lot of light because light will move the energy in whatever direction it's meant to go. Which typically with a guy like him, it'll move him out of the picture, right? That's because it's not like it'll necessarily, you don't send them light so he'll make more money, and you send them light for the harmony of the universe, for everything going the way it's supposed to. But you stay out of that. I want to make a doll of Trump and put pins in it and curse. Yeah, it's true because it ends up rebounding. And so thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Because I need that reminder more than anyone.
So get rid of that voodoo doll. It's not going to help you out.
Yeah, exactly. So have you had any other hits on anything that you want to bring up that has been interesting in the last while, or have we?
No, I just didn't feel Armageddon with financial aspects. Maybe some other countries might get hit a little bit. I don't know what that's about. I was feeling, and I also was just on my last live the other day. I definitely felt more Armageddon weather coming, but more so in Europe.
In Europe, but not in the States. Huh. Interesting.
I see some major thing. The thing is unless you watch the BBC, we don't see a lot of stuff. There's a lot of countries, Vienna and everybody, that had a hell of a time weather-wise with flooding and stuff.
Yeah. No, here too. I mean, it's been up and down.
Oh my God, yesterday, honest to God, I thought the wind was going to blow my house up. It was unbearable. It was 70-mile-an-hour gusts.
Yeah,
the wind was going sideways. The rain was crazy. Thank God I have a new roof, so we were safe. But it was crazy. So we actually have sunshine today, but then the rain comes back this weekend.
Well, actually, I know it reminds me that I know an astrologer who specializes in weather patterns. I'll ask him to tell me what he thinks about it.
Yeah, ask him what his view is for our next week's video.
All right, it's been a pleasure as always. I look forward to the next one, and great to be with you again.
Great to be with you again, my friend.
All right.
I just told my sister I'm heading out. I'm going to talk with Andre. Oh, I look forward to those videos, she says.
It's always fun.
A lot of people like you, my friend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.